Let me say something that's going to make half of y'all uncomfortable. America is already segregating, not by law, not by force, by choice. And nobody wants to talk about it because the moment you do, somebody accuses you of something ugly. But the data doesn't care about your feelings, right? In 1976, roughly 1 in 4 Americans lived in a landslide county, meaning their county voted for one presidential candidate by 20 points or more. In 2020, that number was nearly 2 out of 3. Political scientist Bill Bishop called it the big sort. He wrote the book in 2008. Almost nobody listened. The book said this: Americans have been quietly, voluntarily, geographically separating by value for about 50 years. We moved to neighborhoods that look like us, right? Think like us, worship like us, vote like us. And then we turn on the news and we act shocked when this country feels divided. Like, we built the divide, street by street, zip code by zip code. So let's stop pretending like this is new. The real question isn't whether Americans are sorting. The question is, why are we still pretending that 335 million people need to agree on one version of this country? Because here's what I think is actually breaking us. It's not the disagreement. It's the expectation that everybody will eventually come around. Every policy debate turns into a morality trial, right? Every election feels apocalyptic. Every cultural disagreement goes national inside of a 48-hour span because some school board meeting in a county that you've never heard of gets a Twitter thread, and suddenly it's like a civilization-ending crisis. That's not natural. That's algorithmic. Social media collapses distance, and when you collapse distance, you manufacture conflict. A town in rural Kansas and a neighborhood in Brooklyn were never supposed to be fighting about the same things in real time. They have different histories, different economies, different problems. But now they share a feed, and the feed needs tension to survive. So here's the less talked about part. The founders actually anticipated this. Madison wrote about it in the Federalist No. 10. He argued that a large republic with many competing factors was safer, not more dangerous, than one unified culture. Why? Because if everybody agrees, he who controls the culture controls everything. Diversity of interest was a protection. That's not a talking point. That's the design. The founders were not trying to build one America. They were building a system that could hold many Americas under one constitutional umbrella. That umbrella has a name. It's federalism. Different states, different norms, different approaches, one set of guaranteed rights. And it works. We've just never been willing to fully commit to it, right? You want a working model, go look at Switzerland. They have like 26 cantons, four national languages, Catholic communities next to Protestant ones, rural conservative cantons next to progressive urban ones. They don't agree on everything. They were never supposed to. What they agree on was the structure, not the culture. The EU built the same principle into its founding treaty. They called it subsidiarity. It means decisions should be made at the lowest possible level capable of making them, not at the top, right? At the bottom. Local first, national only when necessary, right? We say we believe in that. We just don't practice it, right? Now, let me be precise because this is where people get it twisted. I'm not talking about racial segregation. Forced racial segregation was evil because it denied human beings equal dignity and equal protection under the law. That's not what I'm describing. The floor, healthcare, equal protection, the feeding of the hungry, the safety of children. The floor is not political, that's human, right? That's non-negotiable. But above the floor, like why does every community have to culturally mirror every other one? Why does one town's curriculum have to satisfy someone in a completely different state with completely different sets of values? Like, why are we trying to engineer one correct version of American life? And here's the thing the Pew Institute found nobody really wants to say out loud. 65% of Americans say they feel exhausted when they think about politics. Not passionate, not energized, exhausted. And that's not what civil engagement looks like. That's what happens when a country has been trying to run the same argument on loop for like 30 years with no resolution in sight, because you can't resolve a conflict where both sides are trying to win permanently. And that's what this has become. Not governance, not disagreements, a permanent campaign of cultural dominance. And here's the reframe, right? Because, not segregation by race, not segregation by exclusion, but a serious reckoning with the idea that voluntary alignment, building communities around shared values by consent, might be less violent than forcing 335 million people to keep fighting over one steering wheel, right? You want faith at the center of your public life in your town? Build that. You want a secular, progressive community structure? Build that. You agree on the floor, equal rights, human dignity, protection of the vulnerable, and then you stop trying to convert each other. Because here's what conversion politics has given us: rage, resentment, a country where every 4 years it feels like a referendum whether your way of life will survive. That's not democracy functioning. That's democracy under a stress fracture. We've confused two things that are not the same: unity and uniformity. Unity means we agree on the rules that protect everyone. Uniformity means we demand everyone think, worship, educate, organize the same way, right? Unity is a constitutional commitment. Uniformity is a power grab dressed as progress, no matter which direction it comes from. And if you think it's abstract, just look around. People are already moving. Red states are getting redder because people are choosing them. Blue cities are getting denser with people who choose them. The big sword isn't coming, it's here, right? The only question is whether we're honest enough to build the framework around what's already happening, or whether we keep pretending that the next election is finally going to, permanently settle something that was never designed to be settled. You're here for a short time. Build your community, protect your people, feed your neighbor, agree on the floor, and then let other people build their version of a good life in their corner of the country. That's not surrender. That's the only version of peace that's ever actually been available to us. And we keep choosing war instead.